Hi again guys, and welcome to episode 17 of Spirit of Le Mans, the review series where I'm evaluating the upsides and downsides of each purpose-built Le Mans prototype that features on Gran Turismo 6. So as you can see, this episode is featuring what many people would consider to be a bit of an OP car. It's the Mazda LM55 Vision Gran Turismo. Now this is the only car of this series which technically isn't real. Now you probably think, considering how, as I said, OP this car seems to be, you know, 8 gears, all-wheel drive, 290 mph top speed, is it even worth pitting this car against the other prototypes? Surely it would just wipe the floor with them. Well, you might be surprised there. So let's go to the track and find out. So, as we just said in our intro, many people consider this Mazda to be completely OP, you know, never use it, never allow anyone to use it in prototype lobbies, because it will just destroy everything else in the race. I mean, it's got all-wheel drive. What chance has anything else got? Well, you're kind of right and wrong at the same time, because the all-wheel drive does definitely make this car really great to drive. The low-speed handling is a definite 5 out of 5. And the drivability is also 5 out of 5. It's so easy to drive this car. Even with no prototype experience, you can just jump in this car and do a fast lap. Now for brakes, unsurprisingly, again, it's going to be a strong 5 out of 5 because they're really, really good. And for acceleration, again, it's a 5 out of 5. And that's going to be a number that you're going to hear quite a lot in this video. So it's a great car. You already know it's a great car. But, surprisingly, and this did actually surprise me, this car is actually slower around Monaco than the Bentley. And that really shocked me. Now, with a different driver, I'm sure that you or someone else may be quicker in the Mazda than the Bentley, but me driving both cars, I was quicker in the Bentley than in this car. How weird is that? But, yeah, still a great car. So that's it for our city track. Now let's go to Ascari. So we've established that the LM55 is really good on city tracks, and that's not surprising. It's mainly due to its all-wheel drive. It means that it never wheel spins, your power uptake is instant, and you can really throw the car around corners. Now the car does have a little bit of understeer because of the all-wheel drive system, but it still handles pretty much perfectly, as you'd expect from an all-wheel drive ultralight prototype. Now many people may not realise that this car isn't actually as OP as you may think. The power is actually only around the same as the 787B before it's been tuned. It's around 830 horsepower. And it actually weighs around the same as the 787B as well, about 830 kilos. So, surprising really, because when you drive it, it feels more like a, say, 500 kilo car with 1,000 horsepower. But it's a great car to drive on this track as well, to be honest. Again, mid-range handling, 5 out of 5. But, surprisingly, although obviously I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 on this track as well as city tracks, again, it is slower than the Bentley. And I really did not expect this. It shocked me when it did it on Monaco, and on this track even more so, because I thought that this car's crazy mid-range performance would just completely dominate this track. But that wasn't the case. Like I said, again, the Bentley was the quickest prototype of all the ones I tested. And this car came in behind it. So surprising. But what about on high-speed tracks? Well, let's go finally to Spa and find out. So, the LM55 performs really, really well on both city and moderate speed technical tracks. So how does it do on high speed tracks? Well, not surprisingly, again, it's brilliant. Now this is the type of track where the LM55 can really use all that top end performance and that extreme amount of grip that it's got. Now on Spa, it's not really a high speed enough track for this car to really truly stretch its legs, but tracks such as the Sarthe and the Nürburgring with its long home straight allow you to really use that just overwhelming top speed, which just blows everything else, or virtually everything else, out of the water. Again, High-speed handling is a strong 5 out of 5, as you'd expect. Overall, on high-speed tracks, you already know it's definitely going to get a 5. And for overall drivability, it's still the maximum 5 out of 5. Because the great thing about the LM55 is not only is it as quick as the best of the other LMPs, but it's also easier to drive, which makes it great for beginners and people who have little or no experience with driving prototypes. Because some of them, to be honest, can be quite challenging for people who maybe aren't used to driving prototypes. So that's it for our actual track testing of the car. So now let's go back to the garage for the final roundup of this car's best and worst points. So overall, you're probably not that surprised that I gave this car a 5 out of 5 in every single aspect of the test. But what you might be surprised about is that it wasn't the quickest. I know I certainly was surprised by that. It was slower than the Bentley on both Monaco and Ascari, and it was slower than both the Peugeot 908 and 905 on Spa. That really surprised me considering how quick this car is in a straight line. But there you go. I'm sure if I did a few extra laps, the lap times would turn out differently, but it was just basically the first time I drive the car, see how it turns out, and that's how it turned out. Now, the best point about the LM55, as I've mentioned or hinted at earlier on in the video, it's obvious. It's sheer drivability. It's so easy to drive the LM55 fast. Anyone can do it. You don't need experience at driving prototypes. The all-wheel drive is extremely forgiving, the handling is very smooth, there's a touch of understeer, which is good. It means you can plan for corners rather than having snap oversteer all the time. And overall, it's a very forgiving car to drive, which makes it great for people who don't have much prototype, I should say, driving experience. The worst point, and yes, it does have one, I would say, the worst point on this car is it does have a little bit of understeer, as I just mentioned, and although that's a good thing, as I said, it allows you to plan for corners better, it is still kind of a downside. It means that the handling isn't necessarily perfect. Now, I've given it a 5 out of 5, but I've also given other prototypes 5 out of 5, so by 5 out of 5 I don't necessarily mean perfect, I just mean very, very good. So no, this car isn't perfect. I don't think there's a single car on any racing game that you could call perfect. Not even the Red Bull, because the Red Bull's definitely not easy to drive. But I think that this Mazda is one of the closest to being perfect that's on Gran Turismo 6. Very easy to drive and extremely quick on virtually, pretty much any track that you put it on. So as always, I'm going to put the ratings and lap times that this car achieved in the video description, so you can compare it to the other prototypes if you need to. And as always, thanks for watching.